StraightallDay.com.
Dominance is a system, not a personality. Now, there are ambitious people out here in the audience today, listening to me today, who want to dominate in what you do. And let's get a definition of what this word dominate means. We're going to be talking about this a few times over the next several episodes of this show. Definition of dominant is an intransitive verb, is to give, to control, govern, or rule by superior authority or power. Also to exert a supreme guiding influence on or over. Another is to enjoy a commanding, controlling position in something, or to be the most abundant. That's what it means to dominate. And dominance is just a form of dominating. And there are some of you out there who actually want to dominate. You're ambitious about dominating. You want to be the best. You want to be number one at the thing that you do and or in the space in which you do it. So today we're going to talk about what it takes to get to that dominant point. Specifically, why being dominant is a system of behavior. It is not so much about your individual personality nor your individual approach. I'm going to draw a clear line between what those two things are, because some of you may listen to that and say, isn't that kind of the same thing? Answer is, well, kind of, it could be, depending on how you language it, but I'm going to language it in a way that you understand that there's a clear difference between dominance being a system rather than a personality. And I'm going to help you understand why this distinction matters. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is dominance is a system, not a personality. Number one, dominance is repeatable. Personality is not. So there, I just told you right up front. You can repeat dominance. You cannot repeat a personality. What do I mean by that? If dominance was all about personality, then that would mean only certain types of people would ever be eligible to dominate, because you have to have a certain type of personality to do it, right? Because not everybody has the same personality. Everyone's personality is different. However, dominance is something that can be built based on behaviors, positioning, and decision making. Here's the good thing about those three elements: behaviors, positioning, and decision making. Why does this make it a system? Because anybody can alter these three things. No matter what your personality is, you can alter your behavior. Is this true? Of course it is. Can you alter your positioning? Yes, you can. And can you alter the way you make decisions? Yes, you can. Which means anything that's based on three things that are easily alterable by anyone, or easily teachable, graspable, or understandable by anyone, or applicable by anyone, naturally fit into a system. See, a system must be teachable. It must be duplicatable. It must be pass-onable. You have to be able to teach it to another person. If you can't teach something to another person, then it's not a system. Your favorite basketball player, for example, one of the reasons they're your favorite player is probably because they're tall and they have long arms. That is genetics. That is not hard work. That's not effort. There's no training program of theirs you can buy that will make you 6'9" and have a 40-inch vertical and all the fast twitch muscle fiber that they have in their body. Let's just call that quote unquote personality. That's genetics. That's hard coded into them as a person. There's nothing you can do to have those same physical attributes. But if your favorite basketball player is pretty good at dribbling the ball, there's a good chunk of that you can learn if they know how to teach it. As a basketball player myself, I taught a whole lot of players a lot of things about how to play basketball and how to move with the basketball and dribble and shoot and do things with the basketball. However, I could not teach you to be a black guy with fast twitch muscles and 39-inch vertical and to be 6'4". I couldn't teach you that. Those things I couldn't teach, but I could teach you what to do with the ball. I could get you to about 80% of any basketball player you ever seen in terms of their skill sets, but I could not make you have their physical tools to use with which to use the skill set. You might have every skill LeBron James has, but you're not 6'9", 260. So you doing it doesn't look quite the same as when LeBron does it. All right, so you doing it might have got you to playing in high school. LeBron doing it got him to one of the best players in history of the game. Everybody understand the difference here. Dominance is built on things that can be taught. Learned, codified, and duplicated, i.e. ready-made pieces of a system. If it can be learned, codified, taught, and duplicated, you have the bare bones of a system. Again, it's transferable. Systems are transferable. You do not need to be a special type of person. You need not be chosen by God. You don't need to have any specific personality attributes to be a dominant individual. Have you ever read the book called Good to Great by Jim Collins? You should have read it. If you haven't read it, please read it. Jim Collins explains this without saying it in so many words in his book. The book Good to Great is all about studying public companies that have successfully sustained dominance in their marketplace over long periods of time. We're talking decades. And one of the things that Jim Collins discusses in the book is that in order to prove this, one of the ways that they proved it with their methodology is that a company needed to sustain its dominance even as leadership changed hands over the years. So different CEOs, different C-suite executives, but the company remained dominant even though the people changed. And one of the things that Jim Collins is trying to prove with that is that it's about the company and the overall system of the company itself, not the genius of one individual person. Are you catching what I'm putting down here? I'm catching what I'm throwing to you right here. Is that it's not so much about the individual person and your personal brilliance. It's about the system that the person is following. And anyone can follow a system if they so choose. Jim Collins' book talks about this a lot. Please read the book Good to Great if you have not yet. The companies he studied were able to sustain. Again, it wasn't about the dazzling talent of some flashy CEO. It was about the system. Maybe they had a great CEO, but the system was more important than the person. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is dominance is a system. It is not a personality. Number 2, systems lend themselves to consistency, or systems create consistency. When you have a system that is being followed, you will naturally get consistency. Personality can win sometimes. When you have certain people and you have certain crowds, the certain personality can be a hit with a certain crowd, and a certain personality can be a complete dud and fall flat with a different crowd. Exact same personality. But however, a system can produce the same outcome every single time, the exact same way. Same things, same way, every time. Talk about this in episode 2013. When you are dominant as a person, that means you are operating by a system. It is not because of your personality that you're dominant. You may have what some people call a dominant personality, but if you are actually dominating, that is because of the system you're operating by. Your personality is just icing on the cake. That's not the reason. So when you operate by system, that means what you're doing is not based on how you feel. It is not based on your mood. It's not based on your emotions. It's not based on any individual genetic character trait of yours that causes you to dominate. If your dominance is based on those things, great, congratulations to you, but that's not a system. That's not transferable to other people. True dominance is systemic. It is not personality driven. It is not, this person was just kissed by the gods and that's the reason why they can dominate. No, it's not what we're talking about here. Dominance is based on following a structure that has already been installed. And again, you're simply following the structure. All right, you are not the structure. You follow the structure. Anyone who is dominant at what they do will have times, just as people who are not dominant have these same times, when they or you don't feel like doing the job, whatever the job is. You don't want to be where you're at, wherever you're at. Things are not working the way you want them to work, whatever that may be. And it'll be easier to just do nothing. Go back to sleep, go back to bed, just stay in the house, do nothing today. Every dominant person has these feelings the same way that non-dominant people have these feelings. The reason the person is dominant anyway, despite the fact that they have these moments, is because dominant people show up in these exact times. And when they're doing these exact, and they do these exact same things, even in less than ideal circumstances, the reason they're able to do that is because they have a system to follow. It is not because they feel good that day. Over here, we have a whole process behind this. We call it the third day. If you haven't read my book called The Third Day, go get it for free. Just cover the shipping. Go to thirddaybook.com. The third day is all about showing up and giving the effort you're supposed to give, even though you don't feel like giving any effort whatsoever. The third day itself is a system. Dominance is a system. Dominance must master the third day because there will be days you don't feel like working, but you are required to work. And if you don't show up on those days, you can't be dominant. You got to dominate consistently. The very point of dominance is you do it all the time. You can't be dominant once. You're dominant over and over and over again. That's what makes you dominant. That's how you get the reputation, is that you do it all the time. The third day is all about the systems that are in place and those systems overcoming your emotions, moods, and feelings. That's the reason why the third day is the third day, because everybody has times when they don't feel great and don't want to do what they're supposed to be doing. The third day is all about systematizing doing it anyway. It's not motivating you to do it anyway. It's systematizing doing it anyway. There's a big difference. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is dominance is a system. It is not a personality. Number 3, if I tell you the picture, or I was to describe a person who is dominant, you will probably start talking about their presence. If I said, all right, I want you to describe to me a dominant person. Just take your profession. Take what you do for a living. Doesn't matter what it is. Male, female, young, old, doesn't matter. Private sector, public sector, whatever. I want you to describe a person who is dominant in your workplace. Maybe you know somebody. Start describing that person. Right, just describe them. How would you describe them? You will probably start talking about their presence. That's the energy that they carry, and the way that they carry themselves, the way they show up, how you and others feel in their presence, or what you think about, or what triggers in your mind when you hear their name or you come across them, or maybe you've never been in their physical presence, but there's a certain energy that they give off. That's what you would start describing if I said describe a dominant person. Maybe you will talk about their posture, their physical posture, how they sit, stand, and walk, their internal posture, maybe what it appears their mindset is like, their tone of voice, the look in their eyes, how they tend to position themselves verbally when talking about themselves and when talking to others. Even when listening to others, there's a certain way there's a certain style of communication this person has. They have a certain way about them, as we say, je ne sais quoi. Or you may talk about their power. If I ask you to describe a dominant person, the things that they're capable of doing, the way they're able to influence and persuade others, how their very presence affects outcomes without them even actually doing anything. Now, you may describe all of these things. All these things that I'm saying to you may describe a person who you see as dominant. Here's the good news of this. The good news about everything that I purport that you would say about a person who's dominant. Here's the good news. These are all byproducts of a system. Everything that I just said can be systematized and taught. None of these is only reserved for a special type of people, a special type of person, or a special type of personality, or someone with a certain genetic code. As long as you can read and write and listen and we're speaking the same language, you can learn all of those pieces that I just laid out. Every single one of you can learn any one of those pieces. Anyone can learn a system. What makes a system is that by definition, it can be taught to anyone who can understand the language and can follow instructions. That's what makes a system a system. The reason McDonald's is because anybody can work at McDonald's as long as you can follow instructions and you understand whatever the local language is. Because the system is already designed to tell you exactly what to do. You don't really have to do much. Just do what the system tells you to do. There's another reason why McDonald's is about to replace every human that works there with a robot. Because they don't need the humans anymore. Now we got robots that can do what humans do, especially if it's a rote activity. And McDonald's is a rote activity. Burgers, fries, milkshakes. What else you got? That's it. All right. The reason this is good news, again, anybody can learn the system. All right. Dominance, ladies and gentlemen, is a result of operating by a system. When you have strong inputs, you naturally get strong outputs on the flip side if your structure is in place. Or if your inputs are weak, then your outputs will be inconsistent and non-existent. This is just the way it works. This is just the game. The way a system works is if you give it strong inputs, you're going to get strong outputs if you have the right structure. In other words, you put your system together the right way. If you don't have a system, or you have a faulty system, you're going to get inconsistent outputs, or you will get no outputs because the system sucks. Here's the good news about that. Is that all you got to do is look at your outcomes, what you're getting right now. Ask yourself, are these the outcomes that I want? What level would I put these at on the scale of 0 to 100? 0 being 0, I'm getting nothing. 100 being I'm getting exactly what I want. And ask yourself, okay, where in my system do I need to make adjustments so I can get that outcome, that output to raise up to 100? The output is 80. Okay, where's that last 20%? What do I need to change in my system? What do I need to change structurally to make this work? Maybe you don't have the answer. Good news is there are people out there who do. That's the reason why we have Work on Your Game University. All right, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. The reason, again, all this is good news. Anyone can learn the system. Let's recap today's class, which is dominance is a system, not a personality, which means any of you can learn to be dominant. Number one, dominance is repeatable. Personality is not. Not everybody has the same personality, but dominance is based in an overall structure. Number two, systems create consistency. Personality can win sometimes with a certain crowd. It can fail with another crowd, even if the message and approach is exactly the same. Systems produce the same results the same way every single time. Systems are usually installed in a certain place knowing that a certain outcome is desired. Number 3, if I tell you to picture or describe a person who is dominant, you will probably start talking about their presence, their aura, their energy, their eye contact, their tone of voice, the way they walk into a room, the way other people respond to and feel about them. Good news about all of those things that anybody can learn any of those pieces. None of those is endemic to a certain type of person or a certain type of personality or a certain gender or a certain race or a certain nationality or a certain religion or a certain background. Anyone can learn any of those pieces, which means it is by definition the bare bones of a system. And when you have systems, you can get consistent, repeatable, and duplicatable success. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Get into our programs, have me as your direct coach, and let's start putting these systems and structures and mindsets in place behind them to make all of this stuff work the way you want it to work, as a system, not as a random one-off thing. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all